Before we go any further, just want to thank all the people over on Patreon, because without their help, none of this upgraded content that you'd be seeing would be possible. Over on the Patreon, you get exclusive sneak peeks at upcoming videos. You also get access to the Patreon only Discord server. Coming up soon, I'm going to be working on talking about other anime that I can't talk about here on YouTube, like say ReZero, Konosuba, and etc. I'm also going to start posting the scripts for video essays, and every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul. We also are going to open up the Patreon only Discord server to YouTube members at the $2 price tier, which also means that members will be seeing their name here alongside the patron. But with that being said, let's get back into today's video. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys a review for Konoha Shinden Chapter 1, and this was an amazing first entry into the Naruto franchise by Sai Natsuo, the mangaka behind the Psycho Pass series. And to be clear, let's establish a few things up front. This chapter, like the Sasuke Retsuden manga, is bi-weekly, and there's a lot of new information that's presented in this, where if you've watched the anime adaptation, you're gonna be in for some surprises, because this chapter jumps around a bit in the timeline. It starts out when Kakashi is Hokage, and it ends with a time skip where Naruto's now acting as Hokage. If you're like me and you read the novel, there are some changes made to this, just like the anime version, that you may or may not be a fan of, but anytime we get to see Hokage Kakashi in battle, I'm completely content. Finally, if you want Boruto bi-weekly, I know a lot of you guys do, read the chapter on Manga Plus and comment Boruto bi-weekly, so Shueisha has data that Naruto content can be supported on a bi-weekly basis. Let's jump into the chapter recap before we get into the breakdown itself. So the chapter opens up with the young Mirai Sarutobi holding her shinobi headband and looking up at the Hokage monument at the faces of the Hokage. In particular, we see her looking at her grandfather, the third Hokage, and she reflects on the legacy of her father, an elite Jonin and Asuma, and her grandfather, the third Hokage, and she vows to become a respected shinobi like them. One thing that you'll see here is that in the background, we're still in Kakashi's era as Hokage. Kakashi's face is the last face that we see on the Hokage monument, most notably. So that's our first sign that we're going to be getting a time skip later on in the chapter. So we then shift over to Mirai reflecting on how the era's changed. The nations are on good speaking terms, and we see Naruto escorting Gaara around the village, something that I've mentioned in the past in other videos, that Kakashi spent time grooming Naruto to become Hokage in the light novels, most notably having Naruto escort VIPs to and from the village, which Gaara would qualify as since he is a Kage. We then see Boruto and Himawari walking outside the ramen stand, and we see an anticipation panel of Mirai's foot running through the forest, as she says that despite being in a peaceful era, shinobi still have work to do. Mirai is shown looking through the forest, moving at a high rate of speed, and Natsuo does a good job here, as well as elsewhere, of not having to overuse speed lines to convey speed at which characters are still moving at a high rate of speed, while also having the background itself being shown. We get a few panels building up anticipation of Mirai jumping through the forest and into the bushes and emerging with a kitten. It's then that we learn that Mirai at this point in the story is a Ganin doing D-rank missions like capturing kittens. However, we see a tragic flaw in Mirai's character emerge. In her eagerness to prove herself, she's left her teammates behind and is lost in the woods, and we get this funny panel where we see Kurenai drawn being very pissed off, and then just below that we see Mirai's inner self freaking out as she's holding the sides of her head, and then we see Mirai in the present time looking very scared in a comedically drawn way as she realizes she's gonna piss her mom off by being so impatient, which leads to her doubting if she'll ever become a great shinobi. But then she hears a noise and thinks that, hey, maybe these are my teammates. Unbeknownst to Mirai at first, she stumbled across a shinobi in the bingo book who sits on a tree stump, stating that the era of shinobi is basically over because shinobi are relics of the past. The man appears to be crazy, as if he's speaking to himself, and Mirai listens in to his ramblings very closely while recalling that the man before her was a wanted shinobi. However, before she realizes it, the man speed blitzes her and has gotten behind Mirai, which leads to a good set of panels where we see Mirai going from being very scared to jumping backwards to put distance between them, and then landing in a manner that stops her movement. The man, who we later learn is called Mizu, notices that Mirai is only a Ganin since she's on a cat mission, and he can't believe he got caught by mere Ganin, but remarks that since she found him by accident, there's no harm in allowing her to walk away with her life. However, Mirai, being as overeager as she is, states Mizu's name, telling him that she knows that he's an assassin who turned on the village, and she draws her kunai, which leads to one of my favorite panels in the manga chapter, where we see Yoshimitsu called Mirai a foolish child and that he was going to allow her to live before then. His face is shaded out to convey a sense of danger and a sense of bloodlust, and his eyes are drawn in a way that highlights that. We get a really good partial panel where we see Mirai with her eyes widen, and we see the speed lines that are used to show how terrified she is, and then we see that terror translate into the next couple of anticipation panels where she's so scared that she's shaking, and the scene slows down and we see her other hand grip her wrist in order to stop the kunai from shaking, and her foot is also shown shaking as Mizu begins to start walking towards her. We get another anticipation panel where we see Mirai's whole body shaking as Mizu basically says that he's going to kill her and that she's going to die a foolish child. The buildup continues with Mizu walking behind Mirai, taunting her without using any words, and then we see Mirai trying to compose herself, and she's coming up with a strategy to use the genjutsu that Kurenai trained her on. However, that's when Mizu whispers in her ear that the bingo book was wrong. Mizu isn't just one person, it's a team of 7 people, and we get the impact shot of 7 shinobi, 6 of them are wearing masks, standing in front of Mirai preparing to kill her. The leader then draws out a gun and restates that Mirai's about to die. At this point, he's openly taunting her, which leads to Mirai using genjutsu that Kurenai taught her, which appears to be an incomplete variation of the demonic illusion tree binding jutsu, which is a B-rank jutsu, and Mirai seemingly has captured all these men in the genjutsu at once, and we get this really brilliantly drawn panel that focuses on her eyes that shows the pride that she feels in herself and how Mirai is blushing at what she believes that she's done. But Natsuo takes that moment to flip everything onto its head by revealing that Mirai's genjutsu had just been broken, and he calls her genjutsu a childish excuse for genjutsu, showing that the young Mirai still has a ways to go before she can fight someone on this level. Somewhere in ninja heaven, Itachi's saying like mother, like daughter. After Mirai is smacked across the battlefield and the man kicks the cat out of the way, we get another anticipation panel of Mirai on her side before she flips over onto her other side and she throws the shuriken in a desperate attempt. It's here that we see some of her talent as a shinobi because she's showing the move hidden behind the move. Mizu thinks that he's deflecting her shuriken with his sword, but Mirai used the shadow shuriken jutsu to land a blow on Mizu and draw blood, which leads to him choking Mirai, and after taunting Mirai, he reveals that his gun has a knife attached to it and he prepares to stab her, but then we see Asuma's chakra blades have a glowing aura surrounding his shadow, and we get a good set of build-up panels to show that Shikamaru has arrived, from Mirai's shocked face to Mizu being unable to move to the appearance of Shikamaru's feet before we see Shikamaru arrive, and we get the payoff where we see Mirai's face light up. The rest of the members of the Mizu gang then begin to charge at a very confident Shikamaru, and we see Shikamaru dodging their attacks with ease and even dodging the attack of a shinobi who tried to blindside him, jumping out of the way and then lunging forward at another shinobi with his kunai drawn to strike. But before Shikamaru can strike, the shinobi uses body flicker to escape, and another shinobi kicks away the chakra blade before running away with the leader. However, after Mirai insists that they give chase to these shinobi, Shikamaru says that the rogue ninja are making a mistake by running in the direction that they did, which unknowingly to them, they're about to face the acting 6th Hokage, Kakashi Hatake, who is now stronger than he was in the 4th Great Ninja War. We get a really fun set of panels where we see Kakashi with one swipe of his weapons take out 3 of the shinobi like it's nothing, dropping their bodies in an instant, and then he blitzes another shinobi by getting behind them and he ducks below the sword slash and then promptly knocks them out with a single blow. Another shinobi jumps into the air throwing shuriken, but Kakashi not only blocks the shurikens, but he also catches one of them with his fingers and then he throws it into the shinobi who's suspended in air that initially threw the shuriken. However, a second ninja jumps into the air and shoots off a giant fireball jutsu at Kakashi, and we see the panels change to reflect its size. We get one from Kakashi's perspective looking up at the jutsu, and then we get another panel from the perspective of the shinobi as the jutsu appears to have struck Kakashi. However, Kakashi used the fireball jutsu that was launched at him as a diversion to move through the trees and knock out the attacker from behind, leading only the leader to fight Kakashi one-on-one. However, when the leader lunges forward, Kakashi catches his attack with one hand and he uses his purple lightning to electrocute the shinobi at point-blank range, leaving the leader to wonder why the acting Hokage is out looking for rogue ninjas, and we jump over to Shikamaru stating that Kakashi's captured the shinobi. It's then that we get a well-done build-up where we can't see Mirai's face after she calls Shikamaru a master, and she begins to doubt herself as a shinobi, and we see her crying as she admits her fear, and we get something that we've all wanted to see from the older generation when it comes to this new new era of manga, which is we see Shikamaru taking the time out to address the weaknesses of Mirai, his student, and give her counsel while building her up, stating that this is just the start of her ninja journey. Everything is paid off with the panel with Mirai on her knees while the sun is setting, accepting Shikamaru's lecture, and then we jump over to Kakashi in the Hokage office, remarking that in time Mirai would grow to be a great shinobi, leading to a proud Shikamaru agreeing with the praise of his student before he updates the bingo book like Kakashi requested. It's then that we're told by Mirai that time has passed, and we now see how much time has passed since that kitten that Mirai saved is now an older house cat who's gotten overweight, and we see Sumire and the members of Team 15, Wasabi and Namada, looking for the cat itself. The chapter then ends off with Kakashi and Guy waiting on Mirai at Konoha's gate so Kakashi can go on the vacation that he's always wanted to, but before that we see Mirai breaking through several panels as she's jumping, where one hand is in one panel, her body is centered in the other panel, and then we see her legs extending down into the bottom panel, which shows Mirai then landing on the side of the rooftop, which is a great example of what I tell you guys. Really creative paneling can make a scene that would normally be boring a lot more exciting to read. Overall, this was a good chapter. While I am someone who's a big proponent of not changing the source material, I'm gonna give this one a pass for a few reasons. Initially, this story takes place while Boruto's in the academy, because we see it being set up in Naruto chapter 700, where Boruto and Sarada are preparing for the academy graduation, and Kakashi's about to go on his vacation with Guy. However, I'm guessing they made this change to the manga in order to keep in line with what we saw in Boruto's anime, so as to not confuse people, especially given the fact that there's already a time skip in the chapter itself. I love the stuff that we saw here in Kakashi's era. Seeing Kakashi acting as Hokage in manga format is something that we've never seen before outside of him allowing Sasuke to begin his redemption journey. It was nice to see Kakashi throw down in this chapter, and in this chapter we see the levels of what it means to be a shinobi. We get to see a very fresh-faced but talented rookie Mirai. Even though her genjutsu failed, she's attempting to use B-rank jutsu and isn't too far from completing B-rank jutsu, which for reference, B-rank jutsu are jutsu like the flying Raijin slash that Tobirama used on Izuna, Sasuke's fire dragon jutsu, and the third Hokage's dragon flame bullet jutsu. For Ganin to be this close to mastering B-rank jutsu is really impressive, which is a reminder, Sasuke and Naruto mastering A-rank jutsu like the Chidori and the Rasengan, those are exceptions to the rule. Exceptions don't make the standard. We then see a higher level of power by having a seasoned elite Jonin and Shikamaru fight the rogue shinobi, and we see a Kage step into the fight when Kakashi enters into the battle, showing the escalation in power and skill. What I also like here is that we see for the first time in manga format something that the novels hammered home and that I've talked about in my Hokage Legacy video on Kakashi as Hokage. Kakashi's time as Hokage was spent both trying to build a bridge for Naruto's Hokage and lay the foundation for the Boruto era, but a lot of it was spent rounding up the rogue shinobi who fled from their countries following the Fourth Great Ninja War, because Kakashi was the one who noticed the number of dead bodies that was reported and the number of ninjas who returned from the Fourth Great Ninja War didn't line up. The first year Kakashi as Hokage saw Kakashi sending Naruto on a mission to team up with Sai to hunt down these shinobi, but we're talking about thousands of ninja who fled, so some of them did slip through the cracks that stayed in the Five Nations, and some of them didn't go to the Land of Silence. Most importantly, I love that we see here that even someone like Mirai Sarutobi, someone who Shikamaru said in the novels rapidly progressed once she became a Ganin, even she started out rough around the edges, which proves it doesn't matter where you start, it matters how you finish and how you endure. It took some time before she became the shinobi who Shikamaru said directly scaled to Shojoji in a battle, which by extension speaks to how special Team 7 are, since they beat Mirai in combat and Boruto handled Shojoji alone for the most part without trouble. I'm really excited to see where this manga goes going forward. My chapter question for you guys is, how do you feel about Kakashi in action as Hokage? Click here for my Black Clover chapter 342 review, or click here for this Naruto Explained video.